Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Anambra. Today is Friday, TGIF. I hope you woke up strong this morning. Once again, you're welcome to the show. My name is Chidima Oranwa. We are starting with bringing your way stories making the headlines on ABS website and also other national dailies. And with us in the studio are the reviewers who will help us to dissect some of the topics. But before you get to meet them, we are going on a short break. When we come back, we go straight into discussion. Stay with us. Welcome back to Press Review this morning. I have with me as an analyst Dr. Henry Duru. Dr. Henry, good morning. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
We also have Ejike Abata. Ejike Abata is also a public affairs analyst. Ejike, how are you doing?
I'm great. Good morning. I'm glad to be here.
All right. You're welcome. All right. Quickly, let's see what we have on ABS website this morning. The first story there, Anambra Assembly reassures of peaceful resolution of PTA teachers' issues. Anambra State government continues removal of illegal structures in Onitsha and environs. Traditional ruler of Umueri, Igwe Emeka, calls for hotel directory in Anambra. Verification and enumeration of tricycles, commercial vehicles operators in Anambra ends July 17. Let's start with you, Dr. Henry. These are the stories we have on ABS websites this morning.
Okay. This story, Anambra State government continues removal of illegal structures in Onitsha environs. It's of interest to me because if you look at our environment, you look at a very important city like Onitsha. Everything is in a mess. Over the years, people have built all sorts of illegal structures, some even on waterways, compounding the ecological problems of that city. That was the place I was born and I grew. And I can still remember that up to the time I was in secondary school, there was still an element of decency around some of the areas. If you now go there today, you begin to wonder whether it's the same place that you left a couple of years ago. So I think the government must do the right thing at this moment, despite the opposition, as long as people are given enough notice to effect the demolition themselves, to remove the illegal structure themselves before government should do that. Because if we continue to treat people with kid gloves, what it means is that we continue to go around this circle, this vicious circle of illegality. You say, oh, don't do that, it's going to affect people's means of livelihood and so on and so forth. Then at the end of the day, other people will continue to construct on other places, knowing that there is no consequence. Because some of those structures, we are not there just a couple of years back. And I knew some that had been demolished and people came back to build there again. So there must be a decisive action to ensure that the problem is resolved once and for all. Because Onitsha has had this problem of erosion. Even when we were children, I can still recall cases of people dying as a result, flood, not even erosion. People dying as a result of flood during heavy rains. And these structures they are building are compounding the problem. So for the sake of sanity and for the sake of safety and even health of people who are living in that city requires radical renewal. And I think that is what government is doing right now.
All right, Ejike.
Verification and enumeration of tricycle in Anambra State, yes. This has caused some sort of issue between government and the operators. And as a commuter, I only want to appeal. Of course, it's important we have, we know those who operate these tricycles as a business. Our safety should also come first. But on the other hand, the money being, or the tax they are being asked to pay, at the end of it, it's the commuters like us that will bear the brunt. Because next thing you know, there will be a hike in cost of transportation. So I want to appeal to the state government and the tricycle operators for them to reach a compromise so that the burden will not be much on commuters. What the tricycle operators are doing is not necessarily for themselves. Government, in some cases, there are some decisions of government that you cannot challenge. And so what they will do now is to fall back and say, okay, this is government has asked us to do, and we must come up with so and so amount of money at the end of the month. There will be hiking in cost of transportation. So I hope at the end of the day there will be a compromise.
All right. Quickly, let's see what we have on the papers this morning. We are taking the Daily Sun first this morning. The Daily Sun newspaper, the big story there. INEC vows to sanction PVC destroyers. APC shifts to Shetima's unveiling as Bola Tinubu's running mate. Sharia Council accuses Khan of fanaticism, intolerance on Muslim ticket. Oshimole defends party's candidate. Release IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu now. Autumn charges federal government. Memo to Buhari alleging my resignation from APC fake, says Osibanjo. Sexual assault of minor Baba Ijesha jailed for 16 years. Buhari restates commitment to secure peaceful Nigeria. All right, and then we can see still there Nigeria are wrong in banning Twitter, ECOWAS court. Dr. Harry.
Okay, thank you very much. The major story there, which is on APC VP candidate Shetima. This has been a very vexatious issue in recent days. First, since the moment Shetima's candidacy was announced, it has been controversy everywhere, and you would expect that because, you know, at this moment in our country, the need to manage our diversity has not been as significant as it is today. And one thing that continues to surprise me is the way the discourse has gone, particularly on the part of APC chieftains. Actually, I understand what they want to do. They want to appeal to the northern Muslims, where it is believed that a lot of votes will come from. But then the issue goes beyond that. It goes beyond the interests of a particular political party, because we are talking about managing our diversity. And the way APC chieftains have been responding to this, they have actually been begging the question. Someone will tell you that Tinubu's wife is a pastor, that Tinubu is not fanatical, and that it goes beyond Tinubu. Because if you ask me personally, I will even give it to him that he's cosmopolitan. I don't see him as someone that is fundamentalist. After all, he has actually supported in succession 2 Christian governors in Lagos State. And if you know that the indigenes of Lagos State, I'm not talking about people, Yoruba people who came from other states and then Igbos and other. If you talk of the indigenes, they are majority Muslims. If you go to a place like Igbogbo in Ikorodu, where you will see a lot of indigenes, it is mainly Muslim population. So if he is able to support Christians, you know, to govern in such state, that I wouldn't think personally that he is fundamentally, but it goes beyond his person to, you know, it touches on the issue of perception. Because someone, once you call it Muslim ticket, people always believe that people who are Christians, a lot of them will believe that they have been excluded. So if any decision is taken that seems to go against it, they will say, yeah, because we are not represented in government. And it might not be as a result of that. So that is a problem of perception, it's a problem of managing our diversity. And if we go beyond interests of individuals and the interests of a particular political party, we understand that the best way to resolve this, you know, is to give everyone, you know, sense of inclusiveness by, you know, continuing to, you know, to reckon with our diversity. At least at this moment, that we have a lot of issues dividing us along religious and ethnic lines. Maybe in future, when we mature better politically, we will begin to talk less of where someone who is going to govern us is from. Personally, I'm not even happy that at this moment of our evolution as a nation, we are still talking about where our president is coming from and where the vice is coming from, showing that we have not really evolved, that strong, vibrant political culture that is going to ensure our development.
All right, HGK.
I'm looking at the story of the vice president's resignation. That's one of the problems of the internet. A letter all of a sudden surfaced claiming that the vice president wrote a letter dated June 24th to the president, saying as a result of family pressures, he's seeking the president's permission to resign his position as the vice president of the country. But his media assistant, Laolu Akonde, has come out to say the story is, or the letter is fake and did not emanate from the office of the vice president. We need to be very cautious of, I wouldn't know the reason why the author of that letter came up with such letter. I wouldn't know what he or she intends to achieve. I wouldn't know if he or she is working for a particular candidate or a particular political party. But we should be mindful of the things we say. You don't just throw things out in order to gain likes and shares. No. Put people's emotions, consider people's emotions before you begin to do things like that. We are talking about the office of the vice president. It's the number 2 man in the whole country. And you come up with a letter like that with his name, claiming that he has resigned. We should, and the issue now is that given the society we are in, I think that is the beginning and end of that letter. We may not be able to trace where the letter came from, but people should be mindful of what they do.
All right, let's go over to the National Star newspaper this morning with the big story there. Anxiety as APC postpones Shetima's unveiling. 28 group rejects ex-Borno governor's nomination. INEC suspends CVR exercise in Enugu local government as gunmen attack locations. ECOWAS court declares Buhari's Twitter ban unlawful. ICPC to probe MDAs over COVID-19 intervention funds. Dr. Henry, let's look at the Twitter ban story.
Yes, that is an interesting one. The ECOWAS court declaring it unlawful. Yes, I think that is good for our evolution as a democratic state. But my fear has always been that the government has not been really famous when it comes to obeying court orders that have come from our domestic courts, not to talk of that of ECOWAS. Does ECOWAS have a police force to come and enforce the law here or arrest whoever that fails to comply with the law? So I don't think we should have waited for the ECOWAS court to tell us that in a democracy there are certain things you do not do. I think it is high time our leaders, the political class, understood the principles, that actually underpin democracy. Because when you understand, because the essence of democracy is not just to give people a voice, but at the end of the day, giving people a voice helps in development of a state and of the people. So when we are talking about development, we're talking about our power sector, talking about our transport sector, agricultural sector, and so on and so forth. And we don't know that there is a link between it and our democratic culture. Then because government will be complaining that we are not growing, whereas they are stifling democracy, which is actually aimed at enthroning accountability to ensure that the government and every other person, including the citizens, do the right thing, towards ensuring the growth and development of the state.
All right, EGK.
I think it's, like Dr. Henry said, there will be no enforcement, obviously. judgment has been given and it's a good one, we commend them, but there will be no enforcement, even though the court even said it should not repeat itself, using the, quoting what the court said, it should not repeat itself. If it goes ahead to repeat itself, what happens? I do not think there's anything that will happen. Kudos to, it was Serap that took the government to court, and kudos to their lawyer, Femi Falana, who I must say he did a good job. But this is Nigeria, and we know the kind of leaders we have. But let it be in their record.
How do you even see the reason for the ban?
The reason for the ban, as far as I'm concerned, is not. It doesn't hold water. It doesn't. You don't. This we live in. We practice democracy. Sure. We practice. We have freedom of expression, and coupled with the fact that we now have the new media. So it's an opportunity for people who do not have the voice. Ordinarily, without the social media, some of the things we've been able to achieve as youths, as group of people, we wouldn't have been able to achieve them. So the new media gives us a voice, such that when things go there, then and they go wide, and people begin to see them and read them. So the ban in itself wasn't necessary. There are rules and regulation guiding every organization. And what Twitter did was for them to be able not to. There are things you put on Twitter, and they will take it down. Sometimes they will warn you, and then if you fail to adhere, they will take it down. So that was what happened. I do not think the ban in itself was necessary.
All right, let's go over to the Punch newspaper this morning. Placeholder running mate. PDP sues INEC, APC, 6 OB and Tinubu's disqualification. Want Shetima Baba Ahmed Bad as VP candidates. Join Okupe Masari, Labour Party in suit. Will respond to PDP, says Labour Party's lawyer. We are aware of the suit, Tinubu legal team. And then Atiku orders campaign for Adeleke. INEC distributes materials. You can see the picture there with Davido and his uncle. Yes. And then we have down there, Fayoshe's preference for Southern presidency, creating confusion in PDP. SREP. Lagos Ibadan motorists slam Julius Berger over open bridge joint. And then we can see there, confront terrorists, eliminate them, Buhari tells security agents. So, Dr. Henry. Okay. The major story, yes.
Yeah, placeholder running mate, the PDP, sues INEC, APC, seeking the disqualification of Tinubu and Obi. Yes, that is something that we have been expecting to happen. But then listening to the experts on this matter, I have come to really observe that, number one, even though the law did not mention anything like placeholding, but still, we cannot actually deny the fact that a candidate can withdraw and then be replaced by the party as long as it's done within the time period permitted or prescribed by the law. The only problem here is that somehow, those parties who brought out or who brought forth the vice presidential candidates in the interim actually made it known to every other person that these people will not be their substantive candidate. Yes. That is what is causing the whole problem. Assuming it is done, and after all, we have seen cases of withdrawal and replacement before. And maybe those people that we have put forward earlier were just placeholders. But the fact that it was not, they were not really called placeholders, led to the issue not actually raising the kind of dust this one is raising. So I don't think it's an issue just to to use the words of Femi Falana, that you are just overburdening the courts, with frivolous suits. So I believe that there is no issue here. It's a matter, because if you say that someone is a placeholder, did the person fill placeholder, interim vice president, presidential candidate in the person's form? That is what INEC deals with. And the INEC spokesperson, Festus Okoye, has really said it before, that, these things are things they hear, in the media. They have not, the candidates submitted their documentation, a vice presidential candidate, and that is how INEC actually treats them. So if tomorrow they say they are withdrawing, then INEC treats them as candidates that are withdrawing, and then they expect their parties to bring their respective replacement. That is why I see it.
Okay.
I still on that story. I think the PDP is trying to make the election easier for themselves. It's a game. Let's see if we can eliminate some persons and then have a free way to the polls. But it doesn't work like that. They just want to test the courts. That's what they are actually doing. There's room for replacement of candidates, even if presidential aspirants want to withdraw. They can, provided it's within the time frame. Same thing applies to the vice presidential candidates. So they merely did what they wanted to do within the confines of the electoral law. And then what PDP, they just want to see if, knowing that sometimes anything goes in Nigeria and in the judiciary, let's see if this will scale through. I think that's what they are trying to do.
All right, let's go over to the Nation newspaper this morning. Wipe out terrorists, Buhari gives fresh order to military. We have the riders in front of the Nation newspaper this morning. President, last 12 years most challenging Nigeria to sustain sub-regional security collaboration. Why public debt will rise by DMO. IPOB to UK High Commission don't come to Southeast. And then we still have the Ngige misinforming Buhari about strike, says ASU president. Okay, let's start with President order by telling the military to wipe out terrorists, that the past 12 years have been the most challenging year.
Okay, thank you very much. Somebody joked yesterday when this news started trending, saying why you wipe out terrorists. Please beware of wiping out innocent citizens. Yeah, but that is not even the issue. The issue is, if you are saying wipe out terrorists, does it mean that they have known where these terrorists have been all the while and have actually refused to wipe them out? So is the issue wiping them out, or is the issue knowing where they are? Or is it that they know where they are but they don't have the resources, the equipment to wipe them out? Or is it that they lack the intelligence, the critical intelligence, the actionable intelligence to actually identify where these people are and then go for them? So I think this seems to me like ordinary rhetoric, because if it is as easy as that, then what are we waiting for? For over almost 8 years, we are still waiting. So as I always say here, the problem with our fight against insurgency, apart from other issues, allegations that have been made about insider sabotage and so on and so forth, is the issue of lack of intelligence. Because this is an asymmetric kind of warfare, where you don't have a battle line, you don't have a war front. Your enemy strikes and then goes back, either hides in the bush or embeds itself within the populace. So what you do is to work with intelligence. Once the policing, once the counterinsurgency is backed by credible and actionable intelligence, then the war is as good as won. Just see what the U.S. has been doing with ISIS. The other day they killed one of their leaders in Syria. Some time ago they even killed their overall leader in Iraq, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, and other ones. It is intelligence-backed counterinsurgency act. You don't need to be shooting all the time. Rather, your strike has to be with precision, and that precision is actually enabled by the fact that you have actionable intelligence before striking. And then another thing is that over the years, I think because when we talk about intelligence gathering, it's something that is continuous and cumulative. You must not get all the intelligence at the same time. You might get pieces of intelligence over time. By the time you piece them together and analyze them, then you have something to work on. So I think over the years, since we started fighting Boko Haram, 2009 till now, we have not been able to really, come up with something conclusive, regarding intelligence that will back up this counterinsurgency operation. So it's something that really it raises a lot of questions regarding the capacity of our security architecture when it comes to intelligence-based policing and counterinsurgency.
All right, let's quickly go to the Guardian newspaper this morning. In front of the Guardian newspaper, we have violent vote buying threatening fair and credible poll 2020. That's a credible 2023 poll, rather. That's the big story. It's on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Overregulation, new taxes impacting business growth and survival. And we have the NCC charges MONs, ISPs on alternative energy over high diesel bill. Don't sign peace pact with Fulani terrorists. Huriwa wants Lalong.
These are stories that will always come up whenever there is an election, be it states, national or local elections. They will always come up. So it behoves on political parties, NOA, to come up with campaigns that would, cause people not to sell their votes. But unfortunately, it is those who, it's the political parties themselves that are involved in the problem. Because if you don't bring money to the polling units, nobody would come to you and begin to trade their vote for money. So there's every need for, even we as voters, we should be able to know that the money we collect from these politicians, it's nothing to them, and it doesn't add much value to us, because within a space of a day or two, you exhaust the money and then you begin to live or complain for another 4 years or more. So it's important for us to be very, very cautious. And also, the security operatives that are assigned to polling units they don't help matters at all. They don't, because before them, they see how these things are done. They see monies exchanging hands at polling units, and they don't do anything about it. And you begin to question, so what is their reason for being there? If we are able to pick 1 or 2 persons and then shame them, it will reduce it to a very large extent. And also, we have people who come on social media to flaunt the money they collected and say, this is how much I sold my with their face and everything, and nothing is being done to them. So we are not creating that. We are not creating that deterrence. We are not showing that there are consequences for when you do things like this. That is why vote buying continues to thrive.
Okay, Dr. Harry, let's look at the overregulation, new taxes impacting business growth and survival.
Okay, thank you very much.
But before you go ahead, let's know who we have here this morning. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Odimma. All right, go ahead, AGK.
Yeah, I want to contribute on this issue of vote buying. I want to believe that INEC has the capacity to make sure that people don't buy votes. Because I understand also that after voting now, that somebody will show the ballot paper or to the agent. Now the agent now will know where the person has taken his vote in. So if INEC can make it in a way that there is no way the voter can showcase where he has voted. They can make the vehicle or the voting area, whichever way that you want somebody to go inside, you vote and that and put it there and come out. Because it's after voting that people will show to the audience that I voted for this particular party, and then will go and collect money. Nobody pays you before you go in to vote. You don't get this money after voting, and after showing where he has cast his vote, the particular party he has cast his vote to. So it can help us to make it in a way that we want to vote as well into that particular political. You don't need to come out and show where you are voting for. You vote and put it down and come out. I think that's going to help the people in regards to this vote buying of your thing.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, Ejike. Have a nice day. All right. Dr.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick one before that. Just like Ejike said about vote buying, that security operatives have seemed not to be doing anything about that. But then, interestingly, you will also see security agencies sometimes becoming beneficiaries of the same thing. I was at a polling unit during the election of 2019, and a particular political party parked a car, close to the polling unit from where they were bringing out the money they were sharing. So I saw some policemen drove into the area. The first thing they did was to head to the vehicle to collect their own and left. That was just the only thing they did there. Now, when it comes to overregulation and the new taxes impacting business growth and survival in Nigeria, I'm still surprised because since the coming of the Buhari administration, the government has continued to talk about this issue of ease of doing business. And I know the federal government or the president actually signed an executive order on that. I think twice. It was first signed and later it was amended 2017 and 19 or thereabout. I can't actually recall that. So if with all that, people who are doing business are still complaining of overregulation and overtaxing. So I think the only thing the government should do is to go back to the drawing board and not just signing an executive order. But before doing that, the government has to really interface with all the interests, all the actors in our business fair, the business people, the foreign investors, the banks, all the financial institutions and so on and so forth, even the Corporate Affairs Commission and other regulators, before they can come up with something that is going to be all-inclusive, that's going to be integrative and robust enough to solve these problems.
All right, let's also go over to the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Federal government British High Commission MOM as IPOB wants envoy to stay off Southeast. That's the banner headline there with the riders. Group says a High Commissioner Igbo hater warning shows depth of insecurity, attempt to embrace federal government dawns. INEC staff injured as government attack registration center in Enugu. 48 terrorists killed, 3,858 surrendered in 2 weeks in Northwest Defense Headquarters. 223 million young Nigerians unfit for job market, ITF. So these are what we have. AJK, over to you.
23 million Nigerians unfit for job markets. Whose fault could that be? Okay. I know of these 23 million, I know a good number of them are graduates. Even at the time, the Minister of Labour accused Nigerian youths of not being employable. So who should take the blame? Is it the students? Is it the education sector? Is it the society that we live in? Who should actually be held responsible for that? It has been said times without number that what we have, the kind of education we have in Nigeria is outdated. What we have, our curriculum needs to be reviewed drastically. We are not being taught on how to sustain ourselves while in school. So you have to go through the rigors of and schooling, sitting for tests and exams, you graduate, then you come back again, not to the school this time, to begin to raise yourself so as to be able to sustain and fit into the society we have today. And so everybody is struggling for survival. Nigerians are not asking for too much. Nigerians are asking basically for daily bread. And it's beyond their reach today. So how do you intend to employ such person? Somebody who is hungry, looking for food to eat, how do you expect the person to think and act the way you want him to, or him or her to do? So there's every need for us to review our curriculum in school, because they are not at par with some countries in West Africa. I'm not talking about Europe or the whole of Africa this time around. Some countries in West Africa, they're not at par at all. So we need to review them. And also, given the society we find ourselves, it's high time we begin to improve on our skills. What we get or what we are taught in the classroom these days are not enough. Okay. They are important, but they are not sufficient for survival.
All right. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Your name and your location. Go ahead.
Okay. I thought I'm a Muslim speaking. To me, I feel like there is no problem. Since the man is being criticized, but he didn't want to do anything. We allow him. There is so many parties contesting. Let him contest along with Muslim PK. Forgetting of the type of country we are in and what is happening to our country.
All right. Okay, thank you so much for your contribution. Next paper this morning is the Daily Independent. The banner headline there: "We will help military wipe out terrorists from earth." Buhari. NATO moves against all firms that failed to remit 2.66 trillion naira. And then we still have there ECOWAS Manufacturing Excellence Award now holds July 30. Expect worst vote buying in Osun Giba poll. CDD warns. Court dismisses suit seeking Oyetola's disqualification. Atiku, Ayu, PDP governors, leaders vow to unseat governor. Finally, Kwankwaso picks Bishop Idahosa as running mate. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Step away from where your TV is located, please.
Okay.
All right, Dr. Henry, you've seen what we have in front of the Daily Independent.
Okay. Kwankwaso's running mate, Bishop Idahosa. The one thing is that he has done something that completely negates what the APC candidate has actually done. Even if he has actually done it for its political benefits, is still in consonance with the quest for us to better manage our diversity. At least when you have a Kwankwaso who is a Muslim, you now have a Christian who also has the title of bishop attached to him. So assuming the two of them actually win, I'm not saying that Nigeria will become a paradise, but if other things, other variables are well controlled and well managed, I think symbolically the diversity of Nigeria, will become better managed with that arrangement. So I think this is also a challenge to the APC and Bola Tinubu, in the light of the controversies trailing the announcement of the running mate, Shetima, And the fact that they have actually put the unveiling on hold, I don't know what they are planning to do. But at least this is a challenge to them to see whether they can do something better.
Educate, you have a contrary opinion?
Not really, but we seem to dwell so much on this Muslim tickets. APC is not the only political party vying for office of the president. Whoever is not contended with what the party has thrown to Nigerians, there are options. And also, putting the unveiling on hold, even within the APC themselves, there are grudges. And there are people who do not want Shettima as Tinubu's running mate, especially the youth groups in the APC. They are demanding for somebody who is more youthful as Tinubu's running mate. Of course, the task ahead is very, very Herculean, and we need somebody who would be able to give the necessary assistance. I'm not taking anything away from Shettima, but we need somebody who is more vibrant and will be able to give the necessary assistance to Tinubu should he win. And so it's obvious that things are not going down well with members of the APC over Tinubu's choice, and probably they resolve it before they unveil whoever will be their running mate.
All right. The last paper under review this morning is the Nigerian Tribune, and the banner headline is still talking about insecurity. Last 12 years being the most challenging for Nigeria. That is coming from the president. And then we have down there Oshun Makinde Wike absent as Atiku Okowa lead PDP grand rally for Adeleke. Reps summon Areweshola orders over Kuje jailbreak. Court sentences Baba Ijesha to 16 years jail for assaulting minor. And then police uncover baby factory in Delta, rescue pregnant women.
Interesting that Babi Ijesha's case has been resolved this way. But usually what happens here is that a criminal trial starts. Before you know it, it lasts for so long. At some point, it's forgotten that you even begin to suspect that something has gone on behind the scenes, something that is not too good. But then the case of Babi Ijesha, it has actually made news over time, and I believe he has been given his time in court. He has the right to be heard and be heard fairly. I believe he has actually exercised that. And I also know that he still has a right of appeal and up to the Supreme Court. So let's watch out and see. But when the justice system is vibrant and is alive to its duties, has a way of actually deterring criminality, and it also has a way of affecting the way people view certain things. Because when people are punished for something, and it tends to really form the conscience of other persons to begin to see that thing as evil. Just like people are not punished for throwing refuse along the road, and an average Nigerian does not see it as something bad. Person does it, remorselessly. But if the law is alive and you see people being punished for that, when you want to do it, even if nobody is seeing you, at least you feel a pricking of your conscience that I'm doing something that is not permitted.
All right.
I think that case lasted this long because of the person involved. Baba Ijesha is a celebrity, and the person behind the minor is also a celebrity. I think that's why it's like. But on the other hand, I want to talk about the baby factory, discovery of baby factory in Delta State. I should start by saying it's a good thing. We don't hear them often and on as it used to be in the past. We hear these things, baby factory, almost on a weekly basis. But thank goodness, it's beginning to decline. And there should be proper, those who are involved should be prosecuted. And also young girls should be made to understand that the fact that you impregnated does not mean you should seclude yourself from society. open up and talk to people, because those who are behind this baby factory thing, they take advantage of young girls who are naive, and because they got pregnant, they are unable to tell their parents or their guidance so that they will be able to take care of them properly. They fall into the wrong hands, and people take advantage of them, feed them whatever they feed them. When the baby is better, they take them and sell. So those who were caught should be prosecuted, and it's beginning to shift away from Southeast, which means there's something we are doing right.
All right. And on that note, we want to say a very big thank you to you, Dr. Henry Duru, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
And also to you, Ejika Bata. Thank you for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Well, that's it on Press Review this morning. Thank you so much for joining us. But we are going on a short break. When we come back, we will see you at the other side. Stay with us.